On the night of 27th November 2022, a violent mob led by the Latin Catholic Church attacked a police station, injuring over 36 police personnel and inflicting serious damage to property. The mob attacked police officers with sticks and stones, smashed police jeeps and unleashed mayhem by attacking houses near the port and injuring women and children. All this has been done in the name of opposing the international transhipment port that is coming up in Vizhinjam, Kerala. In fact, just days before, the protesters led by the Latin Catholic Church had assured the Kerala High Court that they would not obstruct any vehicles arriving at the Vizhinjam seaport. However, in violation of the assurances given to the court, hundreds of protesters gathered in front of the seaport's gate and stopping vehicles carrying construction materials to the site. It's not that the entire local fishing community is opposing the project. When hundreds of protesters had assembled at the site blocking the construction, many locals who support the project arrived and confronted the agitators, which eventually resulted in the clash. 15 priests of the Latin Catholic Church have been booked for rioting and attempt to murder. This recent clash at Vizhinjam is a culmination of the protests that has been happening for the past several months. These are the visuals of Christian priests instigating locals against the construction of the port. Black flags were hoisted in churches of the Latin Archdiocese in the state capital. Red, yellow, white flags of the Latin Catholic Church have also been fluttering from the tents of the local fishing community. The Latin Catholic Church at Thiruvananthapuram has been at the forefront of these protests. On the face of it, the protest might look justified, with demands like rehabilitation, compensation for those affected, etc. And the Kerala state government has accepted most of these demands except one: halting of the construction of the port. The Kerala High Court too, in its recent order, made it clear that the Vizhinjam port project cannot be suspended. That's because the Vizhinjam port is of strategic significance. The proposed port at Vizhinjam is a deep-water, multi-purpose international seaport and container transshipment terminal being constructed by Adani Vizhinjam Ports Private Limited. It is expected to boost India's maritime ambitions significantly. Strategically located and connecting the western and the eastern parts of the world, the Vizhinjam port, once complete, will emerge as a competitor to other global transshipment hubs like Dubai, Colombo and Singapore. The port will be able to handle Megamax container ships, and around 80% of the country's cargo transshipments will pass through here. Thus, Vizhinjam will not just anchor India's strategic position on the Indo-Pacific region, but will also pave way for rapid economic development along the likes of Singapore. And that's probably why the project has met with resistance from non-state actors. India has seen similar protests whenever an ambitious development project is announced. The Kudankulam nuclear power plant too faced similar hurdles when the Congress-led UPA was in power, and that protest too reportedly had the backing of the church. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh himself had blamed such NGOs with foreign hands trying to create unrest in an attempt to impede the development of the country. Similarly, the neutrino project has been facing protests due to fear-mongering and peddling of misinformation by dubious environmental NGOs. In fact, the NGO which has been peddling lies against the neutrino project is the same organization that gave legal support to the People's Movement Against Nuclear Energy, an organization accused of receiving foreign funding to sustain agitations against the Kudankulam nuclear power plant. The protests against the Sterlite copper factory in Thoothukudi were also orchestrated by the church, a bunch of NGOs and a section of the media peddling lies about the factors causing cancer among the locals. Just like the men in white cassocks at Vizhinjam, an evangelical pastor instigated the Christian population to protest and dispose of the factory from Thoothukudi. As a result of Sterlite's closure, India has become a net importer of copper for the first time in 18 years. Pakistan's copper exports to China have surged by 400%, and India's revenue from copper exports has decreased by 87%. All these protests have something in common. They are protests based on baseless claims, supported or spearheaded by activists who either have their own organizations or are supported by the ones which are foreign funded. The Vizhinjam port is a need of the hour to counter China's advances in the Indo-Pacific region. However, there seems to be a foreign hand at work to impede India's rise by orchestrating protests against crucial development projects.